What's your expectations for Fanatic Fest, being the clientele may not be your average goer for your other events?
Fanatics Fest will be a lot of things, but it will be a massive card show, one of the largest card shows inside a much bigger show. So it will attract that hardcore collector. We think we'll attract a hardcore sports fan that says, like, you know, what different athletes are going to be here. I really want to hear them because they're my heroes.
You know, the card show, the card goer. What does that look like in terms of the actual show floor? Can you give some detail, like table count, what that kind of area will look like?
Yeah, so we've got kind of one end of the building, and it's a pretty big building, that we are building out a massive card show and kind of hobby area. And we'll have about 350 booths, which is actually about 2 tables by standard kind of measurement. So pretty big, like, array of card shows. And it's kind of cool because, card dealers, excuse me. It's kind of cool because we're actually going to include, like, uniform Zion cases in the package. So it should have, like, a bit of a nice kind of look and feel to it, maybe a little more elevated. Again, thinking about perhaps a first-time collector or a more novice hobbyist. We want them to come and see, like, wow, this looks really cool. This is very, like, easy to, like, browse through and understand. So there'll be a lot of dealers. We'll then have a whole bunch of sort of endemic hobby brands, like the PSAs of the world and things like that. We'll then actually build a massive stage right in the middle of the collector area that will be programming for all 3 days, all day long, which is going to be, 101, onboarding, introductions, 201, 301 kind of like classes and talks. And I think what's cool about this idea is it'll be heavily interactive. There'll be seats around the stage, excuse me, but then there'll be tons of tables. And so the idea is, don't talk about cards, like grab some cards, like touch some cards, like understand the differences, get to know what we're looking for when you're grading. What are the different types? Like truly, like take people by the hand and lead them into the hobby.
What's the overall goal of this show?
Yeah. So a couple of things. First is we want to build something that is delightful, exciting, awesome for fans. Everything I've done in my career is about making people, fans, happy. We want to build something that's awesome, immersive, entertaining, exciting, cool for fans. Number 2 is we want to onboard new fans, particularly into the hobby of collecting. But frankly, if it's any aspect of sports culture, sports fandom, and you coming in as a fan of one aspect of it, we want to like activate you for another aspect. We want to engage that audience even further, right? Third is we want to really elevate the look and feel and experience that people have at sports events and collecting events. We think we saw this actually when we did New York Comic Con, that as we kind of brought a elevated sense of investment and professionalism, it started to spread, right? And other Comic Cons started to become a little bit more professional and investing in the experience for people. And we think that's really good across the board. And then the fourth is, Fanatics is investing in this. This is a platform for everyone, but Fanatics is investing in this. And it's important that Fanatics build a relationship with these fans. I think, we've got great licenses, we've got great products, but I think we want to build deeper and better relationships between all the different parts of Fanatics and fans.
How many people are you guys expecting at this event?
We are targeting somewhere between 65 and 85,000 people, which is a lot for a launch. That's a really big show to come out of the gates with. That's what we're building this for. We'll know more in the next 59, 60 days.
Again, I think if you asked any of us who have been in the hobby for a long time, how do you grow the hobby? It has always been the easiest thing to say of, well, just bring sports fans. Like, it's difficult for me to prove to somebody who doesn't care about sports, you should now care about a picture of a card or a guy on a card. But, like, if you're going to the game with your kid, it doesn't seem like that big of a stretch. Hey, here's a collectible of the guy you just brought your kid. So that's why when I heard, like, the connection, I mean, we've always had signers at shows. We've always had appearances at shows. The fact that this kind of seems almost more of like the card show part of this is not the most important thing there. Maybe it's equal to the other things. I do wonder, like now for the first time as a hobby, we get to see, hey, we're trying to appeal to sports fans. Do these sports fans actually become collectors now?
Fanatics being pretty much synonymous with sports, I think that the assumption is this is a complete sporting event, but we also know that Fanatics Collectibles is getting into Star Wars pretty heavily. They've gotten into a few other areas with their non-sport side of things. Will there be any kind of non-sport collectible fan fest thing going on here?
That's a really good question. And I think the short answer is there might be, right? Because like I'm totally for it. Is that how far into that will we get in our first year? Like when we are, working on short timelines. We did have a couple of ideas though around like some athletes are huge pop culture fans, and that's a broad statement, pop culture, but, can we pair up, a Star Wars actor with a famous athlete? Is that the thing that would get them really excited to talk about their fandom of different things and how it influenced their job as a pro athlete? So we've had tons of ideas, and we'll have a few of those mashups where you'll see like kind of pop culture or cultural luminaries that'll be paired up with athletes. Will we get all the way into, Lucasfilm having a huge stand at the show? Probably not year one, but we do see that like that's absolutely within our purgo. I think it's within our, kind of right, if you will, to create something like that. But right now it's about like, let's engage the core audiences. Let's really build something special. And then we can keep expanding out from there.